Hello and welcome to webinar series hosted by Happiest Health. Happiest Health is a knowledge platform for health and wellness. I am Kumaran and I will be your host for today's session on Happiest Together, Happiness and Mindfulness. J.K. Rowling once said, happiness can be found even in the darkest of times, if only one remembers to turn on the light. The most wonderful thing you can do is to continue to be happy and share happiness with others. Best wishes on the International Day of Happiness from Happiest Health. We're about to have more discussions on the topic of happiness and mindfulness in this particular session. Without further ado, I would like to welcome two panel members who have joined us today who have worked extensively in the field of mindfulness and happiness sessions and training corporates in respective fields. First up, we have Mr. Sandiip Pandit. Mr. Sandiip Pandit is an author, life alchemist, and founder of Soul in Harmony. This decade-old organization is dedicated to individuals and corporations, helping them transform their lives and workspaces through conscious leadership and mindfulness. Sandiip spent 16 years in the corporate world with companies such as GE Healthcare, CRISIL, IBM, and others in sales and marketing functions. During the last 3 years of his corporate career, he searched for a sense of impact and meaning in his life and career. After a Vipassana retreat, he got his direction and later completed a Train the Trainer corporate mindfulness program in Europe. Today, he's a keynote speaker, best-selling author, leadership coach, and mentor. We welcome you, Mr. Sandiip.
Thank you, Kumaran. Thank you so much.
The second panel member is our very own Dr. Sharon Rajkumar, Vice President, Happiness and Wellness Evangelist with Happiest Health. Sharon has been in the academic and happiness industry for more than 2 decades. She has been a speaker at national and international platforms. She's trained many corporates on mindfulness, and even today, she holds mindfulness sessions for Happiest Health employees and also people from across the globe. We welcome you, Sharon.
Thank you, Kumaran. Thank you.
To begin with, I would like to start with Mr. Sandiip. Mr. Sandiip, happiness and mindfulness are two sides of the same coin. What is your perspective on this?
Well, happiness and mindfulness are two sides of the same coin, yes. And there is an interconnection as well. So if we look at it, the one side, if you look at happiness, what brings us happiness? If we are not in touch with mindfulness, so most often we will notice ourselves being happy on the things that are external, the external factors. It could be relationships, it could be possessions, it could be success, achievement, and I call that SAP factor: success, achievement, performance. And I add one more thing: relationships. Okay, so these are the things we feel that if we are aligned to our desires, if our desires are getting fulfilled, then we feel that we are happy. But on the other side, if we flip the coin and see what is mindfulness, mindfulness is basically getting in touch with who you really are and then connecting to what you really want. So actually, it is the other side of the same coin, but actually mindfulness also becomes the bridge between the true happiness, and I term it as fulfillment and joy. So when the happiness is in connection with mindfulness, then we have fulfillment and joy. And that's the interconnection. But at the same time, as you rightly said, Kumaran, there are two sides of the same coin. You're muted. Kumaran, you're muted.
You're muted.
Yes, sorry. So on the same point, Mr. Sandiip, that you said that one needs to understand oneself to seek a path in the mindfulness and about oneself. On the same line, Sharon, we wanted to understand, we all know that happiness is a fundamental human goal. So we all earn, we all eat, we all live, I think, to seek happiness in our lives. So how can one build their happiness set points? So are there any happiness set points for that matter? Sharon?
So first of all, greetings to all of you on the International Day of Happiness. The International Day of Happiness is celebrated worldwide every March 20th. It was conceptualized and founded by philanthropist, activist, statesman, and UN Special Advisor Jamie Ilian through a UN resolution in 2012. And this recognizes the pursuit of happiness as a human right and a fundamental human goal to inspire, to mobilize, and advance the global happiness movement. Having said this, we all have different set points for happiness. Interestingly, half of our happiness is predetermined genetically, and 1/10 is circumstantial. But 40%, that's 2/5 of our happiness set points, can be worked on systematically, and it is in our hands. And therefore, happiness is not an automatic response, but a conscious choice that one makes. So I'm going to present 4 ways by which we can build our happiness set points. The first is to practice gratitude. Now, when we remember people or situations with gratitude, there are poignant reminders of a past experience, a little bit of sadness perhaps, but never anger. Research has proven that when we are grateful for the things that we have received, we cannot but be happy. And so at the company, we start all of our meetings with an expression of gratitude, a ritual of sorts that sets the tone for the discussion and sometimes removes the tense knots that could be there. The second is to promote well-being. Happiness and wellness are also intertwined, whether it's physical, relational, intellectual, mental, or ecological wellness. We could add emotional and financial wellness too. The third, pursuing real social contact, cultivating meaningful relationships, interactions with others. These foster genuine social connections and is very crucial for happiness. And participating in upholding the rights of everybody. Now, during these times of uncertainty and conflict, I believe that lasting happiness comes from being connected with others, being part of something greater, embracing diversity, and being inclusive.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sharon, for elaborately telling us these points on how happiness is a fundamental right and fundamental human goal, and how one can set their happiness points. On the same note, Sharon, again, another question to you while we diverge to the particular point. How do we build a happy team culture in organizations? For example, you said that we all start our meetings with a note of gratitude. So how do we build a happy team culture in organizations while still managing a high performance environment? Of course, on the one side, we have performance, and on the one side, we have a lot of Excel sheets, and on the sides of we have to see a happy culture.
Sure. So we should never look at a happy culture and a high performance environment as two mutually exclusive things. Once we don't look at them that way, and happiness is a personal choice, an organization cannot ensure one's happiness, but they can provide the enabling conditions for one to be happy and the capacity conditions for one to build their set points for happiness. A few pointers that I can put out. Number one, prioritizing equity and inclusion, effective communication, creating environments that prioritize empathy, understanding, and respect for all individuals. Normalizing vulnerability in the workplace can create a safe space for people where they are comfortable in seeking help whenever needed. Leaders should encourage openness and provide the resources for support, whether it's mental health or otherwise, to combat the stigma and the fear of discussing such issues.
Absolutely.
2, companies should point teams to focus outward toward activities that promote psychological well-being instead of just their own thoughts and emotions. This flourishing really helps alleviate one's concern. And personal time is encouraged for self-care and for activities that bring joy and happiness. 3, promoting a positive work culture in the organizations. It's very crucial for reducing stress, for enhancing performance, and fostering well-being. There should be a platform for feedback, for open communication, annual surveys, checkpoints, dipsticks. These help address issues promptly, and they demonstrate a commitment to listening to feedback. 5, promoting gratitude. We said that gratitude and happiness are positively correlated, and it can train the brain to focus on positive emotions, reducing anxiety and enhancing mood. So we can encourage our people to engage in gratitude practices, whether it's journaling or an appreciation portal. A more positive work environment, and to address workplace toxicity, which is predominant these days, especially because we've been working from home and now everyone's coming to work, and therefore this transition itself is affecting the environment. So it's crucial for employers to maintain a healthy work environment. Clear boundaries to be set, a zero tolerance policy against discrimination and harassment, and also conducting sensitization workshops for awareness. And finally, just to practice mindfulness, it can cultivate a sense of calm. Sandiip will agree with me. Kumran, you will agree. We've all been through mindfulness sessions. And these programs reduce burnout and also enhance resilience. And showing regular appreciation and recognition fosters a culture of gratitude and therefore job satisfaction and organizational commitment.
Thank you. Thank you, Sharon. I think the point that we need to note is that the listening to the feedback, I think, very well actually enhances someone to stay happy and someone is really heard. On that particular point, you also mentioned that sessions like mindfulness also helps individuals or helps employees. On the same note, Mr. Sandiip, while both of you have trained a lot of corporates and many companies for that matter, what are some practical strategies for incorporating mindfulness into corporate culture? And I'm sure, I think it's only present in a few companies as of now, very mindful companies for that matter, but how we can take it forward?
Right. So thanks to Sharon, she actually gave a good understanding of mindfulness, what it is, and where it, or I mean, how we started celebrating it, experiencing it, and now she's also given some aspects of how it can be incorporated into a organizational culture. Now, if we look at the practical ways or strategies of incorporating into a corporate setting, then I would just list down a couple of things. Like number one, first we need to understand there has to be a shift in behavior and perspective that the employees have. It is not just a practice, it's a shift in the mindset, and it's the shift in the heart set and the way people relate to their environment. So that is number one. And for that, one has to embrace diversity. And as rightly Sharon said, we have to embrace diversity and mindfulness practices. But how does it relate to when it comes to practical strategies? Practically, everybody is individual. They all have their own core values. They have their own life experiences. They have their own key strengths and weaknesses. So they need to pick up which mindfulness practices suits them. For example, it can be as simple as people, if they don't want to do a sitting exercise on mindfulness, they can just do mindfulness as they are taking the lift. While they are waiting for the lift to come down to the ground level, they can just practice gratitude for the moment that, I have a job. I'm going up the lift to start my day. If they are in a supermarket, they can hold the basket and they can wait at the counter, at the booking, at the cashier counter, and they ought not get affected by the delay. At the same time, they should be happy about that they are able to experience these things because they have so many resources. Thirdly, good example, practical example could be when they are coming towards their office, they are in their car or they are in their bikes.
Absolutely.
They can feel the gratitude of, I am, when they're at the signal. I say this in my sessions, that when you are signal mindfulness practice, when you are at the red signal, just delve deeper into yourself. What is your intention for the day? You
This is
don't
this is something Sharon has told us in her sessions as well, and it has worked wonders, no? Because we all battle with the time and rushing hours. Yeah,
Yes.
sorry to interrupt, Sandeep. Yeah,
The way people drive in Bangalore and ride in Bangalore, Sandeep,
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
one
you're
needs
having
to
a
be
top of it.
calm on the road.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, sir.
So rather, I would expect the millennials and the Gen Z
Yeah,
who are in that rush hour, taking that extra risk.
yeah.
They just look at the red signal as an opportunity to feel rounded. So the second is culture of acceptance.
Hmm.
Mm.
Organization has to have the culture of acceptance where employees should feel comfortable in opening up. And as Sharon also shared, that vulnerability and authenticity has to become not an exception, it has to become a norm, a new normal in the organizations. Thirdly, mindfulness has to be integrated into daily rituals. Until unless it is incorporated into daily rituals, like for example, if I as a team leader am calling my team member, I can start the meetings with a mindful minute. Just
Okay,
sit down, be seated, and just close your eyes and just delve deeper onto the purpose of meeting here.
okay.
And he or she can let the team members leave the room maybe 2-3 minutes before, so that they can hop into the other meeting. It can be a virtual meeting or it could be a physical meeting. So mindfulness integration into daily rituals. And fourth is lead by example. Nothing happens until and unless the top management, embodies mindfulness as a way of life. The way they relate with their colleagues down, below them, that all that actually has a lot to, for the subordinates to incorporate into their life and then pass it on to their juniors. Next is providing ongoing educational support. See, we can talk a lot, but the thing is, if they're not given enough resources to
Mm-hmm.
support themselves on ongoing education, like we have ongoing education in our subject matters, like it can be tech or it could be marketing or it could be sales trainings and all that, all those. But why not ongoing educational support for managing yourself? Because if I'm able to manage myself, I'll
Yeah.
be able to manage my emotions. As they say, um, people emotions no as I say, people have emotions. Emotions manage emotions. If they're handled well, they can actually, the people can lead the organizations well. So if I'm able to manage my emotion, I'll be able to manage my career,
Yeah.
role, and the organization. And lastly is about celebrate individual successes on this journey of mindfulness. If there's somebody who are doing well, let us make them champions, and that will set a precedent for others to follow. Oh, okay, so he's being appreciated for displaying, embodying this. So these are the couple of practical strategies I could think of.
Right. You very well pointed on on the point on millennials and the Gen Z. On the same note, Sandeep, millennials and Gen Z. Let's narrow this conversation a little deeper. Millennials and Gen Z form half a
Yeah.
workplace situation. They're very talented, but struggling in their personal lives. There might be they are living away from their families. They are staying away, cooking themselves, and maintaining their daily activities. What would you recommend to them to regain that balance of happiness?
This is a top priority item. because
Yeah.
as you rightly, I was also reading somewhere that no, there is a good side to it. There's a silver lining as well.
Yeah.
When I was writing my book, Igniting Conscious Leadership, I researched and found out that interestingly, this more than half of workforce today in the worldwide global workforce are millennials and Gen Z, and they value working for organizations which are values driven. Surprisingly, if they value those organizations which are values driven, so interestingly, they should also, I believe that they also want to be in an environment where they also embody that, right?
Absolutely.
Whereas there is a tussle. There is a tussle, as you rightly said, because they are doing everything on their own. And there
Yeah.
are other factors that I have unfolded during my interactions with this Gen Z and millennials in my sessions, individual sessions with them. I found out that their social media habits are
Uh-huh.
actually unknowingly, they are actually derailing their personal and social and professional life. That is one.
Okay. Okay.
That they're not having deep friendships. And recently I posted on LinkedIn, the art of conversations is dying. The
Yeah.
art of conversation is dying because they feel, it is nothing against them. And, this session, maybe a lot of millennials and Gen Z would be there as an audience. I'm just trying to encourage them, wake them up, and feel that the deep friendships happen when you actually converse,
Mhm.
talk face to face or on audio at least, not everything on the gaming, best friends forever on watching Netflix together, best friends forever doing gaming together. The screen time has increased so much so that the same apps which tell you that, keep scrolling, they also give you an handle. They also give you a handle where you can say that beyond the screen time, I should be barred, right? There is an option on Instagram, on other apps. Instagram, I have found out that you can also set those, but they're not doing that. The family has reduced from being a joint family to nuclear family to single parenting. See
Mhm.
the trend. I mean, where are we going? Because of that, not all the mistakes or blunders are because of them. There are some ecosystem or there are some external factors which are also playing into it. The
Mhm.
society factors and texting over talking. This is another thing. They don't want to converse. They don't want to talk. I mean, there was a recent article in one of the magazine, I think Economic Times, that millennials are preferring texting over talking. And because of this, a lot of other companies are not able to reach out
Mhm.
to their audience, but that's a different thing. But the thing is, we need to understand the deeper implication of this. So, so these are the reasons. Now, coming to the ways how it can be handled. I invite each and every Gen Z millennials who is watching now live or maybe watch the recording. They have to embrace their uniqueness first of all. And what is the uniqueness? Three things. Number one, what are your core values? Try to unfold that. Core values are nothing but the engines of life that drive your life. So what are your core values? Number one. Second, what are your good and bitter experiences? And what are those indicating? Where are those directing you in life?
Yeah.
Number third is what are your key strengths? So if you are able to decode these three things, namely, first core values, second good and better experiences of life, and third your key strengths. If one is able to decode this, then they'll be able to understand who they truly are. Second way of handling this is self-compassion and self-care.
Mhm.
Don't throw
Absolutely.
that out the window thinking that it's a soft thing. It is not a soft thing. You cannot pour from an empty jar. When we are in flights, we are asked to put our oxygen mask so that we can help 10 more others, right?
Yes. Yes.
So in that moments of crisis. But if we are only putting it into maybe others, if you're giving the mask to the other person, you can help maybe one or two, and opportunity is lost there. So self-compassion, self-care. So two. Number three, find purpose and meaning. See, once you unfold yourself, who you really are, then getting on to purpose and meaning is easier. But if I tell you just create your purpose and goals and find it out, it will be difficult. anyone will not be able to dig deep into it. So
Yeah.
finding purpose and meaning after you have unfolded who you really are, and keep that self-compassion and care, at the side. And lastly is cultivate supportive environment and community and become part of it. See, there are two ways to live life. Okay, I again, a shout out to the millennials and Gen Z. Two ways. One is become a consumer, another become a contributor.
Yeah.
Consumers cannot always be, there is an end to everything. We are only taking externally and trying to figure out where is that happiness, externally. Rather than that, how can we contribute?
Yeah.
Which are the communities I can join to help someone to pick up a cause which resonates with your value. Simple. You don't have to go all the way out and do something outlandish. So these are the four ways: embracing one's uniqueness. Second is self-compassion, self-care. Third is find purpose and meaning, and contribute. Find supportive and environments where you can contribute.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sandeep. So again, as millennials or Gen Z watching this particular webinar, be a consumer and also be a contributor. I think that's the point that needs to be told aloud to people here. On that particular note, Sharon, I wanted to ask you, as an employee, one often gets pressurized and burns out, which can affect one's personal life. How do we handle this pressure with poise to play all our roles effectively?
Kumran, thanks for asking this. So let's talk mental health.
Yeah.
1 in every 8 people in the world live with a mental health condition. And in the last decade, there's been a 13% rise in those with mental health issues. So much so that the United Nations has added mental health into their SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. However, that stigma around mental health and the gap between those needing care and access to care remains substantial. Now, two of the most common mental health conditions, which are depression and anxiety, they cost the global economy $1 trillion every year. And therefore, we need a combination of therapies, gentler therapies, along with medication and a whole lot of things. And if we say mental health is a sense of peace, of happiness, fulfillment that Sandeep also spoke about, then 1 in 2 people are really at risk of suffering from mental illness. And so 1 in 8 is really the tip of a very large iceberg, as it were. And since we are humans living in today's world, we're all likely to be at risk. And we're all likely to be stressed out, periods of stress interspersed with occasional moments of joy. So at the workplace, it is okay, perfectly okay, to not be okay. There is no stigma, there is no shame. Mental illness is not an individual sickness anymore. It's an illness of the social construct that we have created as human beings. And it affects our workplaces too, more seriously than we give it credit. Now, a survey, a business group on health survey, they surveyed 152 large employers in the United States. 77% indicated an increase in mental health issues amongst their workforce during the year 2023.
Okay.
Now, Sandeep spoke of social media. Now, in the social media culture of today, there is no place for tears, no place for sadness or low points in one's life, because everyone pretends to be happy, everyone is smiling all the time, everyone is out in the sun or out in the snow. But how are we going to transform it in the workplace? How are we going to tackle it is the question. Is there a place for tears as well as laughter? Is there a person that one can go to? And therefore, the role of a mental health ambassador is so very important in a workplace. So when one is at a crossroad, when one wonders what choices to make, what decisions to take, or when one is appreciated, ignored, or misunderstood, or when one is grieving, is feeling lonely, when one is in a conflicting situation. All that one needs is a sympathetic listening ear. I always say this, that the letters of the word silent and listen are the same.
Yeah.
And here at Happiest Health, we have Aritra, the Good Samaritan program, where we are volunteers who choose to listen in safety, privacy, acceptance, and confidentiality. And hearing these stories is a privilege itself because it's incredibly fulfilling and gratifying. The vulnerability, and I say this again, which people display, and the trust that they have in you when they come and share with you is very touching.
Yeah.
But it's also important to be a mental health ambassador, self-care. Sandeep touched upon that. Self-care is absolutely important. It isn't selfish, it isn't self-indulgent, it is self-preservation. So I'd like to look at a culture of care that we need to build in our workplaces, of understanding one another completely. We are blessed to work in an environment. I've been in Happiest Minds, a similar environment, and now at Happiest Health, a culture of care that we see, of understanding others, of not having biases, not being judgmental in our relationships with one another. We also encourage, in addition to emotional agility, we also encourage random acts of kindness towards others. Nothing is certain in this world except for uncertainty, and we all know that. We cannot control life's ups or downs, but we can build our emotional agility to navigate this. And when it comes to mental well-being, it's never really a destination. It's a journey. We feel, we emote, we understand, we act, and then we repeat this process. It's like a never-ending yarn, one that we will keep weaving as we walk through life, by getting better and better at each turn, until at some point it becomes a part of us. Expressing gratitude. We may overlook the significance of this, but it's so important to just a pat on the back, a note of appreciation, share a team accomplishment. Kumran, you're also a team leader, and I know how you value your team, you appreciate your team, you spend time with your team. And this can create the dominoes effect that can really surprise us. It doesn't take much, just a few moments of our time, a brief note of appreciation, a ripple effect that weaves a positive experience. So the culture of care, also the culture of happiness evangelism. I'd like to differentiate that from happiness, because happiness is a personal choice, and one can say, I don't want to be happy, and it's okay. But to be a happiness evangelist, one needs to appreciate, be polite, courteous, helpful, kind, harmonious, collaborative, go that extra mile, etc. We need to believe that work is meaningful, purposeful. Sandeep, you spoke about values. At Happiest Health, our values are hails. We talk of everybody being a happiness and wellness evangelist. We talk of achievement orientation. Integrity to us is a black or a white issue, no shade of gray, not even one shade of gray. We talk of a learning orientation, a learning quotient, and S for sharing and for social responsibility. The connections that we have. Today, we celebrated International Day of Happiness by embracing diversity. Each of us brought food and we ate together, a potluck lunch. We all dressed in our ethnic wear, just to say that, hey, I see you, I accept you, and I celebrate you. And all this is happiness evangelism. So culture that really fosters happiness, happiness evangelism, inclusion, mindfulness, a culture of listening and care with well-intentioned strategies really will help somebody.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Sharon, for giving us these points on basically how to get over this entire pressure or the burnout effect that every employee in a company feels. On that particular note, let's move to mindfulness as a entire concept and the practice for that matter. We also have written a lot of stories and articles related to mindfulness. On that note, for both of you, on a separate questions, let me come to Sandiip. How does practicing mindfulness contribute to our overall sense of happiness and well-being?
Okay.
And if you could just share some
Yes.
insights on
Yeah,
your mindfulness journey. Yeah.
exactly. I was about to say that I will
Oh,
say this from my personal experience.
okay.
For that, there's something, a map, a flow chart that I had given in my book, Igniting Conscious Leadership. That is, a purposeful employee leads to an empowered employee. An empowered employee creates a healthy team, and a healthy team creates corporate excellence. So, to start with, how does a purposeful employee come from? They become purposeful with the help of mindfulness. So this is exactly what happened to me. Around 2010 to 2014 timeframe, I was in a corporate career, and I was with IBM at that time, and I was traveling the world. I was actually crossing milestone after milestone, and I was leading the Latin American marketing country marketing team in terms of market management. And I was just back from a Latin American tour, and I asked myself, Kumaran, that Sandeep, this is the ideal job that you always wanted when you were doing your MBA.
Mm-hmm.
Really happy and want to take it for the next 30 years. And this, I want to just put a disclaimer that this is me, my core values led me to these experiences. I am not trying to suggest anything to anyone here.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has to do their own personal, self-discovery. For me, the self-discovery led me to understanding that who I am. And then when I decoded that with the help of mindfulness, vipassana, and a lot of getting back to doing those practices, I understood that for me, inside, I thrive on helping, guiding, and coaching people. And when I connected the dots, looking back, I found that all my sales and marketing role had enablement element into it. My
Okay.
sales had a sales enablement, my marketing had marketing enablement. And during my college days or school days also, friends used to come to me to get guided on certain situations, small situations or big situations. They used to gravitate towards me. So all that happened because I self-reflected, because I became mindful, and because I applied that to my purpose, like what could be my purpose for the next 30, 40 years of my living. And that is when I discovered, through my self-discovery, that I need to take up something which resonates with my core values and which connects with my experiences, which are my falling on my key strengths areas.
Mm-hmm.
Second is accept. We have to accept our own individuality. Everyone is, and on our website also we have written, you are unique, and that's your superpower.
Oh, great.
Yeah, even on my LinkedIn title I have written that you
Okay.
are unique, and that's your superpower. The the option, I mean, the problem happens when the fish starts trying to climb a tree, and
Yeah.
a rabbit tries to swim in water.
Yeah.
Is when the problem happens. We have to just be in ourselves, and there are all heroic qualities deep inside. So we have to accept our individuality. Self-discovery. Second, accept your individuality. And third is celebrate your differences, which is connected to the earlier point. Celebrate your differences. Don't just accept. Celebrate it, because you have put on this planet Earth with a purpose, and that purpose has requires some strengths which are embedded into you, just like an embedded chip has all the programs embedded. You also have that purpose embedded inside us. And next is, with mindfulness we'll be able to embrace the full spectrum of human experience. The ebb and flow happen in life. Are we running out of time? We are okay on time?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
okay.
Please do it, Sandeep. Please do it.
As we live life, we have our ebb and flow. Okay. But mindfulness as a practice, when it is embodied, it is installed. I call it, installed, like how softwares are installed. We have to install this as an operating system.
Mm-hmm.
then the ebb and flow and all those risks and challenges, joy and sorrows, it comes like a ECG graph, but it all makes sense.
Yeah,
We
yeah, absolutely.
So that, and the last point is emotional resilience
Yeah,
comes in. It actually germinates. It gets birth. Emotional resilience takes birth when we have a foundation on operating system of mindfulness installed. And
yeah,
I call that as cultivating mindfulness. When we cultivate mindfulness, emotional resilience is born. And we have to honor our uniqueness and embrace the richness that comes from our individual experiences. So for me, either there is either I win in certain things, certain risks that I take, or I learn. There is no failure.
yeah, absolutely.
And yeah. So
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Sandeep, for that point on accepting oneself and making sure that you are unique. That itself is a very good point. Before I move on to the last question to Sharon, I request the attendees who have joined today and staying with us for the last 30 minutes to please put in your questions that you wanted to pose to both the panel members and on your chat box or the questions box, and we could take it up from there. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, Sharon, for the last summing up question that I wanted to ask you was can you share some practical mindfulness techniques that individuals can incorporate into their daily lives to enhance happiness?
Sure. And before I get to that, I just want to talk about when my journey started, not
Yeah,
as
sure.
early as Sandeep.
Yeah.
It was much later. In 2016, when I was at Happiest Minds, our chairman, Ashok Sota, who's also our chairman here, he had gone to Canada for a conference. And the lady who introduced him said, "This is Ashok Sota from the Mindful Company." Now, mindful was one of our values,
Correct.
smiles, the M in smiles. So when he returned, he got a few of us working on what mindfulness was. And that was my first foray into mindfulness. But that very journey of researching, of writing, really opened my mind to a whole new practice. And then we added a tagline, the Mindful IT Company.
Company.
And we also said just a tagline is insufficient. We ought to have training, we ought to have a model. So we said it's important to be mindful, and I'll talk about one practice.
Sure.
We'll do that today. And not just that, we also need to do mindful in our relationships with one another. Now, let's remember that achieving happiness is a journey, and that involves self reflection, positive habits, and nurturing meaningful relationships. It's also possible, not just for individuals, but for communities and for countries to become happier. And we can play a part in that. So, this morning, the World Happiness Report 2024 was released.
Okay.
And one of the features it said was that the levels of kindness have increased from the pre-pandemic levels, especially with millennials and Gen Z.
Absolutely.
And that's very interesting and very hopeful of the future. However, India is in the 127th place, and we have some miles to cover before we reach Finland, which is in the first position. And mindfulness can certainly play a part in enhancing our happiness. Let me run a little practice with you. So, for those of us who are in this webinar with us, if you can just close your eyes for a few minutes, and I will guide you through this practice that I call the breath watch. Please sit with your back and neck straight. And as you're sitting in this silence, just pay attention to your breathing. See how the air passes through your nostrils in and out. Just keep observing your breath for a minute and a half. and you can gently open your eyes. I wish I could ask everyone how you felt, but I will ask Sandiip and Kumaran because I can see you as to how you felt.
Just connecting with the breath is like connecting with the help of a bridge to our own individuality, our present moment.
Right. Kumaran, how did you feel?
Extremely being at the present moment, I believe, because a lot of tasks ahead and tasks that completed and all of that, I think just being at this
Just
moment,
being
it's
here, yeah.
so great.
Up,
And getting this time is, I think, this is great. That's
yeah.
what I would say.
So it's a triple-fold benefit
Sure.
that this little practice gives you.
Yeah.
Research has proven that it increases the gray matter in the brain, the volume of the gray matter, and therefore our awareness, our memory quotient increases. It also reduces the size of the amygdala, which is the seat of all anxiety. And the brain waves are theta waves, which are deep relaxation waves. So, those in this webinar, if you feel calm and you're wondering what really happened, just a minute, and then, I'm feeling calm, peaceful, all of that, just this is enough. Do this breath watch every day, consistently. You can do it for a minute or for an hour or anywhere in between, depending on what time you have at your disposal. Just being mindful with this practice and doing mindful in our relationship with one another by perceiving one another completely, by processing non judgmentally without any bias, and by being empathetic in our relationships with one another. We are all happiest together. So let us continue to do our bit to bring smiles, to make a difference, and help create a happier world.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Sharon. Thank you, Sandeep, as well, for participating in this amazing session. We have a few questions that's coming up. I think a lot of questions coming up. So I'll just read out the questions. Maybe we could take two of them, each of you. One is, how does one make company management aware of the need for mindfulness at workplaces? The other person says, I'm met with an accident and right now at home due to an injury. How mindfulness will help me to come out of this difficult phase? My work is my motivation, which is completely stopped due to the health issues. That's what the person says. The other one says, yeah, sure, we can take this. Yeah.
So, to the anonymous attendee who said this, just try the breath watch every day. It'll bring about a sense of focus. It'll bring about a sense of calm in your life and the way you think. Because right now, I'm sure there are so many thoughts going through your mind, conflicting thoughts, and work has been your be all and your end all. Find something else now that you're at home for a while. Find something else that can bring you joy, a hobby, a pet. It could be anything, even just sitting by your window and watching the sky is enough. Writing, journaling, sitting in silence. There are so many things that you can do over and above your work. And I'm sure this phase will pass. And in time, when you resume work, let that not be your only motivation. Connect with others, find hobbies, make meaningful relationships, contribute, volunteer, be with someone who does not have the privileges that you have, and then life will reset. I hope you get well very soon.
Thank you,
I'll
Sharon.
just add one.
Yes, yes, sure, son. Yeah.
Because he has asked it with a lot of agony. So
I
let
know.
us help him out or her out. So to the anonymous attendee, we understand what you might be feeling at the moment. At the same time, try to recall a moment when you thought that your life is really busy and you don't have time for yourself. Flip the coin and tell yourself this is the time that you can connect with yourself. I mean, accidents. I hope this is not a very major accident because you can attend a webinar like this. It means that you're able to, you are able to move, you're able to sense things. So just take this as a resting moment. And in your entire span of saga of life of 70, 80 years, so just take rest and try to delve deeper into yourself. And this moment, as Sharon said, will also pass.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Sandeep. Sandeep, there's another question. Maybe that's a personal question. We will mail it across to you from Mr. Anil Pandey. We will take that a little later. The other thing is how to be happy without a reason, how to identify our core values and know oneself, who I am, and purpose of my life. Question to Mr. Pandit.
Yes, sure. So I know Indra Kumar. He has been in our community and he has been attending our daily morning sessions. So thank you, Indra Kumar, for attending this. That clearly means that how important you are, how much importance you're giving to yourself, attending sessions like this, sessions that happen in the morning. So coming back to your question, how to be happy without a reason? Indra Kumar, there are a lot of reasons to be happy. The fact, that is why the practice of gratitude is miraculous. If you just look at the present moment, you are able to attend this webinar because you have electricity, because you have internet, because you have money to spend for your internet. Then you have a mobile, you have a home, you have lunch for yourself, you have food, shelter,
Absolutely.
so many things you have. If you start counting the number of reasons that you should be happy for, uh, you know there will be, I mean, you cannot even think of a question like this. And how to identify our core values? Yes, that is something, that is a kind of a task, bit of a task. You have to cultivate mindfulness and make self-awareness and mindfulness are used interchangeably. Let me clear this for the audience. Self-awareness is a trait that we build through mindfulness practice. So mindfulness practice will help us build the self-awareness trait, and that self-awareness trait will help us decode the core values. Look at your bitter and good experiences of life, Indra Kumar. In those moments when you are very angry on certain things, there is an element of core value there. Something like, for example, you hate dishonesty. I mean, hate is a big word, but you like honesty. Suppose you like being in the company of honest people, then maybe somewhere humility, honesty could be your core values. And the other part of the question was to know oneself, who am I and what my purpose of life is. The purpose of life you will be able to decode when you uh, G plus P plus V, your gifts, your passions, and your values. When you connect these three, then you'll be able to decode your purpose of life. So let me repeat, your gifts. What are your gifts? What are your strengths? What are your passions? And what are your values? There could be a lot of permutation, combination of examples, but because of lack of time, I'll not be able to explain this so elaborately. But this is something that you can do if you can take a cue from my answer here.
Yes.
I just
Thank
want
you.
to add on to that first line, how to be happy without a reason.
Reason. Yeah.
Happiness is a conscious choice you make, Indra Kumar, every second of every hour of every day. It doesn't come automatically. There are times when you will not feel happy automatically, but then that is where you delve deep within and tell yourself, I am going to be happy. I'm not going to let life drag me down. I'm not going to let situations pull me apart. I'm going to make a conscious effort. So one can be happy without a reason.
Just one real life example I'll add there.
Sure.
There is a motivational speaker without limbs in Australia, and his name is Nick Vujicic. Nick
Mm-hmm.
Vujicic is born with this disability where he has no limbs. But in his early teenage days, he decided that I have no limbs, but I have a brain and I have I can speak. So I can speak about my own experiences and I can motivate people. And he's one of the top 10 motivational speakers of the world today, Nick Vujicic. So
Great.
he didn't require a reason to be happy. Now he's having two kids. He's married, happily married, and he travels across the globe. Goes on the stage on wheelchair. I mean, not wheelchair. There is a special chair on which he actually is put on the stage, happiness is a state of mind. It is a decision, I would say. Happiness is a decision. It's not an emotion.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Sandeep. Thank you so much, Sharon. I think I would say people should be happy being part of this webinar. Thank you so much, panel members, audience. With this, I am Kumaran, wrapping up this session. Read and watch www.happiesthealth.com for better knowledge and better health. We have also launched Happy, that is HAPPIR chatbot, AI chatbot on the website, which will give answers to all your health and wellness queries and guide you to our knowledge bank that we have created at Happiest Health for the last 2.5 years. Thank you so much, panel members,
I
for
would like
joining.
to thank
Good
I would
evening.
like to thank Sharon and Happiest Health and Kumaran
Thank
for
you.
inviting me. I was pleased to be on this platform, and you people are crusading happiness and mindfulness so well, Sharon and the
Thank
Happiest
you.
Health.
Thank you so much. And Kumaran, you were a wonderful host. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you so much.